I hope you have not forgotten the op-amp circuits. So suppose we have an operational amplifier circuit, and remember that the non-inverting input is usually grounded. And suppose we have an impedance connected here. I am drawing the circuit in the frequency domain. And suppose this is a impedance as well. So we are taking the output from here and we are applying some input here, and this is, say it is Z1, and this is the impedance ZF. Remember, impedance is a frequency domain concept. So forgetting the plus VCC and minus VCC that are used to charge or energize this op-amp, we are assuming that the op-amp is operating in its linear region whenever we bring them up in the circuits, uh, except for the use of an op-amp as a comparator where the op-amp does not operate in the linear region. It was just covered in LCA. I hope you remember some of it, and you should remember that the output of this op-amp was equal to the negative of the impedance in the feedback path divided by the input impedance into the input. Or we can say the transfer function is equal to the output divided by the input, which in this case is minus ZF over Z1. This is the inverting configuration. So now suppose in the inverting configuration we have a RC, a parallel RC combination in the feedback path and a simple resistor in the input path. So let us call this RF and this CF. We have VI here, we have VO here, and this would not be CF, it would be 1 over, so 1 over SCF. Then the H of S would become, for this circuit, it would become negative of the impedance. Now this is in parallel, so basically we can write this as RF into 1 over SCF divided by the sum RF plus 1 over SCF, this thing divided by the input R1. So we can take this RF, or we can bring this 1 over SCF down, and we can write this as minus RF over S R1 CF into 1 over RF plus 1 over SCF, or the transfer function here is minus RF over, we can multiply them to get S R1 RF CF plus S and S will cancel, CF and CF will cancel. We are going to get R1. Now I hope I told you in the previous lecture, that one of the previous lectures, that usually we try to write this S alone with a coefficient of 1. So if we try to do the same here, we are going to get we are going to take this common R1 RF CF common, and we will get minus RF over R1 RF CF common S plus R1 divided by R1 RF CF. So we are going to get 1 over RF CF. This RF can cancel with this RF actually, and we can write this as minus 1 over R1 CF over S plus 1 over RF CF. Now this is a very important relationship, and it is going to help us understand a very important topic. Before I name that topic, let me first give a few examples and try to mention what we are trying to do, so that you can get an idea before understanding why it is important. So for this particular circuit, we know this is H of S. Now if somebody says, okay, I want a circuit H of S is equal to minus 10 over S plus 20,000, or say 2,000. He says, I need a circuit with this H of S. Now just compare this with this. Remember, when we have the coefficient of S to be 1, whatever is here is known as critical frequency. The poles and zeros are basically called poles, and zeros are also called critical frequencies as well. So for this circuit, this is the critical frequency 2000. And if you compare this with this one, so we have a minus sign, 10, 1 over R1 CF. S coefficient is 1, here we have 1. Here this thing is this thing. So if we just compare, we begin with the critical frequency, then we know that this circuit can be used to get a transfer function of this form if and the values of these three components would be 1 over RF CF, both in the feedback path, would be equal to 2000, one equation, and this 10 minus 10 would be equal to minus 1 over R1 CF, the other equation. So we have two equations, but we have three elements. So what's the best way to go about this? Which element is difficult to find for a particular value in real life, or is costlier? So we know from the resistors and capacitor, the capacitor is very important for a specific value of capacitance, would be difficult to find, but we can make the specific resistor, and because the resistors are very cheap, we can use multiple resistor in series or parallel to achieve a certain value. So what we do, whenever in any field, whenever we have lesser equations and more variables, what we do, we assume as many element values, so that the overall critical frequency would not change. So we have two equations, three unknowns, so we assume one of the values. We can assume any, we can assume R1, we can assume RF, but I choose to assume CF. So let us say I am going to use a capacitor of 1 microfarad, which is easily available. So if CF is 1 microfarad, then RF would be equal to, RF goes here, this 2000 comes here, so we are going to get 1 over 2000 into 10 raised power minus 6, which is going to be 10 raised power 6 over 2 into 10 raised power 3, which is going to be 10 raised power 3 over 2, or 500 ohms. Typically in op-amp circuits, we prefer resistances to be in kilo ohms, at least not very small values, because of some reason that we may not be interested in to know right now. So in order to get a larger value of this RF, we can change this assumption if we like. In exam, you don't need to do this. You can even assume CF to be 1 farad is okay. But in practical life, you like to have values that are more practical for a particular circuit. So if I just make this 10 microfarad, then this is going to be 10 raised power minus 7, 10 raised power 7, and this will become 5 kilo ohm. So this is a better value when you are dealing with op-amp circuits. Okay, look at, okay, now this expression is going to tell you that what will R1 be equal to? R1 be equal to 1 over 10 comes here, R1 goes there, and into 10 raised power minus 7. So that is 10 raised power minus 6, and we are going to get 1 mega ohm resistor. So that's it. So now a circuit, an op-amp circuit with a 1 mega ohm resistor here and a 5 kilo ohm resistor here with a capacitor in parallel of 10 microfarad is going to have a H of S of minus 10 over S plus 2000. This is something we have done for the first time in this course. We have not taken a circuit and found its transfer function. Rather, we have taken a transfer function and found a circuit that fulfills it. That is something very important. So if I generalize it, basically this circuit is this with a transfer function equal to this. It can be used to synthesize, that is the word, synthesize a pole in H of S. And that is an important learning today. What we have studied is synthesis. By synthesis, we mean we know what we are looking for and we reverse engineer to find the circuit that would give this transfer function. This is synthesis. Up till now, what we have been doing, up till now we had a circuit, we used to find the transfer function. This process is known as analysis, and this course is about analysis, circuit analysis, where circuits are given and output or the transfer function or something is found. But when we have that output or the response with us or the transfer function and we want a circuit for it, this process is known as synthesis. And also in fact the process has two names: design. So we have designed now. Somebody asks us, okay, make me a circuit that has this transfer function, and we have done that. The process of getting a circuit basically is known as design. We have designed a circuit, but in order to get exact values, so knowing that this circuit can generate a transfer function of the required form is design. But synthesis is basically finding the exact values, and to be able to make such a circuit is synthesis. So for the first time in this course of circuit analysis, the second course, in LCA we did not look at any design or synthesis, but now For the first time, we are looking at design and synthesis. And by the way, this is what engineers are made to become. An engineer is supposed to analyze, that's fine, but in real life, mostly an engineer is needed to come up with a practical circuit that can do a certain thing that is required. So basically, the real objective is to be able to design something. So someone says, I need something that can do this and do this. So that guy has a requirement, has a an idea of a product that would do this. But being an engineer, our job is to make such a product. So that process is designing something, and that is very important. So for example, if in your final year project you are going to design something that is going to do a certain thing, that you have promised the panel that you would show a thing that is going to do this thing. So that is why it is very important to learn design and synthesis. By the way, one very important and small point. What do you think is important to be learned first? Analysis or design? In order for someone to be able to design something, one must first understand how to analyze things. So if you are suddenly given a task where you have to design something you don't know about, you are first going to learn how things of the same type behave, so that by learning how do they behave, how do actual such things behave, you will first analyze them, and then you will reverse engineer them to make such a thing that is going to fulfill your requirements. So that is why analysis is always taught first, and then one gradually is taught how to design things. So congratulations, you are now learning how to design. In the second video, let's do it over here. Let us not close it for now. Let us give this title of synthesis of a transfer function to this video, and let us add the sister circuit for this circuit. So suppose that parallel RC combination is not in the feedback path but in the input, on the input side now. So we have 1 over SC1 R1 VI, and the RF is just a single resistor in the feedback path. Now in order to find the transfer function, I implore you to solve this and find the transfer function, but let me skip doing this for now. Instead, I would like to just write what this would be. You would obviously start from the same thing. The transfer function is going to be minus RF over the parallel combination of this thing, but at the end, so starting with minus RF over R1 in parallel with 1 over SC1. You are going to simplify this to find that this is equal to minus RF C1 S plus 1 over R1 C1. So here this term S plus something is in the numerator. Here this term S plus something was in the denominator. Here it is in the numerator. So if now someone says, okay, make me a circuit, say that is H of S minus 10 into S plus 2000. Here minus 10 over S plus 2000 here in the numerator. Then we will say, okay, we know of a circuit that can make transfer functions of this form. So basically now if we equate both of them, we see that 1 over this critical frequency, 1 over R1 C1, the parallel R and C, that is going to become equal to 2000, much like the same thing here. And the other thing, minus RF C1, now they are not in the denominator, would be equal to minus 10. So if we assume C1 to be 10 microfarad, we will again find now R1 to be equal to 5 kilo ohm. You can check that. And knowing that C1 is 10 microfarad, we can find RF to be equal to 10 over C1, which is 10 into 10 raised to the power minus 6. And we are going to get the same 1 mega ohm resistance. So this circuit with RF is equal to 1 mega ohm and R1 equal to 5 kilo ohm and C1 equal to 10 microfarad is going to give us this transfer function. Now, last thing to consider, what if someone asks me to make H of S or implement, or say implement or design or synthesize H of S is equal to say 10 over 10 into S plus 200 over S plus 2000. So someone says, make me this. You can very easily see that we can write this as 10 over S plus 2000 into S plus 200. So we can say this is H1 of S and we can say this is H2 of S. So the product of H1 and H2 is H of S. H1 can be implemented by such type of circuit and H2 can be implemented by this circuit, and the overall H of S would be implemented then by a cascade of circuit that can that has a transfer function of H1 of S and another circuit that has a transfer function of H2 of S. So if I would like to draw a miniature circuit here so that I don't have to flip the page, but H1 of S can be implemented by RC in the feedback path, and it does not matter if you implement this first and this second or this here and this here, the order does not matter. So we can have so the ultimate V0 would be here, this would be V in here, and this you can call RF1 and CF1 and R11 and R2 R12 and C12 and RF2, and this part will implement this thing and this part will implement this thing, and the overall transfer function would be what we require. So basically, let us now conclude this. So this circuit can implement a pole, and this circuit can implement a zero. So that's it. The poles and zeros in a transfer function can be implemented. There is an exception, and that is if we have a zero at 0. So we have an S in the transfer function. So suppose the h of s is something like 10s over s plus 200, or h of s is say 10 over s into s plus 200. Now here we have a 0 at 0 and a pole at minus 200, but here we have a pole at 0 and a pole at minus 200. So how to implement this 0 at 0 and a pole at 0? So you see this is used to implement a pole. This is used to implement a 0. If we have a parallel combination of R and C, we implement a 0 that is not at origin. But for a 0 at origin, we just take the capacitor at the input here. Instead of a parallel RC, we just have a capacitor here and an RF here. That is going to implement a 0 at origin. And if we have a capacitor in the feedback path, that is a pole at origin. You can check this on your own, and therefore if you check that and understand that, you should know that we can now, knowing this, we can now implement any h of s that we need to implement.